Hey guys, so this tutorial series is going to be very interactive, and I basically just want to get some feedback from you guys on if you'd like to see more, and you can request tutorials. And basically my goal is to get you to understand how to do something on your own. How many people have to follow tutorials, and then if you were to say, okay, here's a blank page, go ahead and make this happen, you probably wouldn't know how to do it. Because if you're like me, you learn by doing, not by being spoon-fed. It doesn't help anyone, and it's sad that there's a numerous amount of tutorials that do this. Um, this is more beneficial, and this is going to help you in your games. So to start out, I'm going to go step by step. So let's just start out. Let's open up Unity, and so far all I've done is created a go to game object, create other, and then create a cube. Okay, I renamed that cube to player. And as you can see here, I've just added a scale size to it. So scale X, Y, and Z is now 5, just so it's a little bigger for you guys. So basically this tutorial, I'm just going to make sure you understand how to make a player move. And I know there's a character control asset, and that's great, but what if you want to create your own? And maybe you don't like JavaScript. You want to use C#, because all my tutorials will be in C#. So what do we want to do? We want to make him move left, right, up, and down, right? So let's talk about what we want to do. So first, let's go down to the assets folder. Let's create a new folder called scripts. Alright, let's open, let's go and create, go to C# script, and let's name this player, let's just name it player. I'm just going to name it player. Alright, and let's go ahead and drag and drop it to our player. So it's on, so it has a script connected to him. So as you'll see, it now has a player script. Okay. Go ahead and open that in MonoDevelop. And throughout this tutorial, I'm also going to teach you how to look up information on your own. The entire reference manual that Unity offers is incredible. If you were to take the time to read it, you really will learn something. So I'm not going to go through player class and what this does and what that does, because if you're like me, you can read code. Okay? If you were to show me something, I can read through it, I can tell you exactly what it does, but if you were to take it away and say, okay, let's replicate it, I have no idea where to start. And that's what I tend to fix. I want to teach you how. So, if you ever see something in Unity that you don't know, for instance, public class player, you'll understand that it says inherited from MonoBehavior. That means everything that has pretty much a runtime is going to be inherited from MonoBehavior. So what if I want to know what void start does or void update? What do I do? So let's head over to Unity real quick. You go and click on player. See this reference book here with a question mark? Go ahead and just click that. And then you'll see references. Okay, so let's go to scripting. So we know that MonoBehavior is a runtime, correct? So let's go to runtime classes and search for MonoBehavior in the list. You can do Control F if you don't want to find it. I don't see it here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. MonoBehavior. Go and click that. So looking through it, what do you see? Okay, here's our update right here. Update. Update is called every frame if the MonoBehavior is enabled, which it is. And then here's start. Start is called just before any of the update method is called the first time. Okay, great. So as soon as we start our game, it's going to run through the start method, and then as soon as it does that, the next update, the next frames will go through the update. So this is going to be good for player spawn. Okay, so say on the very start of the game, you want a player to spawn somewhere as soon as they start the game. So let's go ahead and do that. What do we want to create? Player spawn point. Player spawn point. Now, how do we do that? I'm going to be commenting a lot here because I want you guys to understand what we need to do. So let's type out what we want. We want, what do we want our player to do? We want our, this is where our player will start when the game is played. This is where our player will start when the game is played. So what do we need to do? We need to look, so what do we want to do? When the game starts, we want our player to be at X, Y, and Z, right? So now how do we do this? So let's go back and just look at Unity real quick. Okay, let's click on our player. Let's just look at the attributes it has. When in the inspector view, you'll see that it has a transform, which is the position, X, Y, and Z, the rotation, X, Y, and Z, and the size, which is the scale, X, Y, and Z. We have a cube mesh, and we have a box glider, mesh render, and our player script. So what do we want to do? We want to set our player to a starting point as soon as the game starts. Well, to me, that sounds like we need to set a position for it, right? So right now we are at, let's change just a little bit. Okay, so for my example, okay, where we are, we're at -2, -3, okay? But let's say, so we're at -2, -3. So let's do this. Let's just make it simple: -2, -3, and then z, it can be 0. So right now we're at -2, -3, and 0. That's where I want to start every time. Okay, let's say that's my starting point. Okay, so just jot those numbers down real quick. -2, -3, and then let's move it all the way over here. Let's go all the way over there. So right now it's at -13, 0. But as soon as we hit start, we want our player to be at -2 and 3. So what do we have to do? So we want to do that. So we know that it's a transform position. So if we wanted to look up how to do something, let's head over to our reference manual and let's go to transform. The transform component determines the position, rotation, and scale of each object. So I can determine the position. What else could we do using transform? Okay, we can translate, rotate, and scale. Let's read through it real quick. Okay, so that's how we can determine our position. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is the position of the x, y, and z coordinates. Okay, so let's head back to MonoDevelop. Now here's what we want to do. So now you're probably asking, okay, so we want our game job, and we're going to obviously use transform somehow. So now how do we know what we have to do first? So the first thing is going to be, let's say we want to type it out. We want our player to be at x, y, z. How do we convert that to what we want? So what is our player? Our player is a game object. And what's our game object? What do we want to do? We want to set the position of our game object. And how do we do that? We do that through the transform. Okay, so think of a transform as a game object. That's all it is. Transform is a game object. Our player is a game object, and our game object is a transform. Okay, so let me just write that out for you just in case. Player equals game object. Game object equals transform. So here's how we would do this. So we want to take the game object, right? We want to take the game object and we want to position it at x, y, and z. So how do we do that? Transform.position. How do we make it go from where it is now to an x, y, and z? So here's something you need to understand. In order to, x, y, and z is a location on your screen. If you want to go to a new location, it's like making a line to where you want to go. And what we use in Unity is called vector 3. Vector 3 is vector. A vector is basically 2 points on a line. So if you're at a certain point here and you want to be at a new point there, you have to draw a vector. We use vector 3 in Unity, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Transform.position equals new vector 3, which is the new position. So think of vector 3 as position. Vector is your position. Transform.position equals new vector 3. Okay? Just knock that in your head. That vector 3 equals position. And we want it to say, we want to be at -2x, 3y, and 0 for z. Alright, let's just go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and save and see what that does. Alright, we're going to go ahead and run our script here. And as you'll notice, it moved to -2 and -3. Automatically. See, and then it goes back. It's currently at -13. And now it's at -2 and 3. And actually, it's not really where I wanted it. Hold on. Oh, I guess I wanted it at 0, so hold on. Okay, yeah, we're going to have it at 0 and -3. So give me just a second. Okay, so let's go back in the player script, change that to 0. 0, 3, and 0. Okay? So now we have it positioned for our player spawn. Now what if we want that player to be able to move left, right, up, and down? How do we do that? We want to check to see that if I move with the arrow keys or WASD, left, right, up, and down, it will move my player. So let's write out what we want to do. We want our player to move left, right, up, down. Right? So what do we have to do that? Let's see how we can do to move our player. What options do we have here? So we know that transform is going to control our game object. And what do we want to do? We want to move our player, who's a game object, across the playing field, left, right, up, and down. Now, we know that position is going to change, so we're going to use a vector 3 because the position will be changing. So what we want to do is player move left, right. We want our player, which is our game object, aka transform, to move when I press the arrow keys. So now how do we do this? So in Unity, you have what's called translate. And translate, if you were to look up translate in the descriptions of your scripting here, you have transform. Let's look up translate here. Transform.translate, here we go, moves the transform in the direction and distance of translation. So basically that moves us, okay? So across a vector 3 line, it's going to move our player. So how do we use this now? So what we want to do is we want our game object, okay? So go ahead and put your game object there, which is transform. So just type in your game, so you would type in game object. Or I'm just going to say, I want you to be able to do this without looking at me. So you want to write out your game object, right? And you want to make it move. And we just said that translate is how you make it move. So translate, so dot translate. And then we're creating a new vector 3 line. So now, what do we do after that? So do parentheses, okay, open parentheses. And then you're going to type in vector 3. All right? Now it stopped there. You have vector 3, you have a line, but what do we want to do? We want to move it left and right, right? So just hit dot, because this is always helpful. You can just always go through this, and let's see what we have. We have our options of left, and here, right. All right, dot right. Basically what this is going to do right now, if I were to save it, this says that player object is going to move to the right. That's basically what that says. That's exactly what that says. And if I were to save this and run it, the cube would just go off the screen to the right. So how do I make it to where it's going to know that I'm pressing a key down? So let's go into Unity real quick. And let's figure out if we can find out how to make it work with a key. Let's check out Edit, go to Project Settings, and then go to Input. Alright, and what you'll see here are a bunch of axes. Okay, axes. And these are basically your horizontals and your vertical. Horizontal allows you to use the negative left and positive right, and then also your A and D keys. So this basically is what we want. And then vertical would be up and down, WS and up down keys. So we know what we want. We want an access. We want to go into the input manager, take an access, vertical and horizontal. So let's head back to our script here. And remember, our whole point right now is we want our player cube to move left and right. So right now what we have is transform.translate vector3.write. Basically what this says is, another way of looking at this is like this. We have vector3 dot, basically what vector3.write is it's this. Vector3.write is this. 1 for x, 0 for y, and 0 for z. Okay, and then vector3.write can also be -1. So it's basically right, and then for left, if you were to put left, it would be -1. All right, but don't worry about that too much because it's built into the game engine to where you don't have to worry about that. So you have your game object that moves on a vector 3 line to the right. So now how do we make it to where if we want to add an input key of pressing the left or right arrow keys or the A or D key. Here's how. You're going to space, you're going to times this, okay, so it uses it at the same time. You're going to type in input, and then what do we want to do? We want to use an access. So how do we get the access? Let's just search through and see what there is. So we have get access raw and get access. Well, you know what? We saw get access. So let's use that. Let's get access, and then parentheses, it says translate vector3 translation, and we have to string this. Get access string. Just type in horizontal and see what happens. Horizontal. So vector3.write times input.getAccess horizontal. So what happens if we just run this? Let's see. There we go, look at that. I can move my cube left and right. Alright, but it's going really fast. It's updating this fast on every frame. So if I wanted to slow it down, here's how I can do that. And also, we don't have a player speed initialized in it. So say we want to move 5, like maybe a player speed of 5 or 6, whatever, 6 frames a second, then it would be zoom by. But if we want to slow it down, so let's go ahead and just make a variable here. All right, we want to make a public variable. We want it to be public. Okay, so make a public variable. Okay, public variable, which is going to be, give our variable a name. So public, and make it a float so we can use a decimal. So you're going to say public float, and then I'm going to call my variable player speed, and I'm going to have it set to 5.0f. The reason why we put 5.0f is because we're using float. Float will allow you to use decimals. If you were to just put 5.0, you'll get a compile error. You have to use f when using float. So obviously our cube is moving very fast right now. So what do we want to do? We want to take our horizontal. We want to go down to our transform.translate vector3.write times input.getAccess horizontal, which allows us to move left and right. And then we want to also times it by the player speed. So if we saved it right now, what's going to happen is the cube will just go flying. And I want to show you that. Watch this. See how fast it's moving? Look at that. It's moving so fast. So how do we slow it down? How do we make it to where I can use a 5 and still watch my character move? So let's open up MonoDevelop. Unity has what's called real time, where instead of using every frame per second to move, it's going to slow it down to where it uses actual minutes, hours, and seconds. So the way we do that is we're going to times it again, and we're going to use time dot delta time. Okay, you're going to go ahead and save that. And now you'll notice that my cube is moving much slower. 5, and if you come down to your player script here, you have your player speed, and you can actually increase that. Let's make it like 12. It's moving much faster now. Okay, so I showed you how to go left and right. I showed you how you can possibly come up with it on your own to do that. So how do you think you would make your cube go up and down? You have your player object. You have moving it on the vector 3 of the x-axis, but you want to make it go up and down. So you want to use the y-axis, which is equivalent to dot up. Okay? That's the only sneak preview I'm going to give you. So you have your transform.translate and vector3.up, and then you have your get horizontal. Horizontal is left and right. So what would be the up and down? See if you can figure it out. Yeah, sorry. Just sneezed. So, back on topic. So, we know how to make it horizontal. Let's try it yourself, making it go up. So, instead of changing what I have on the line, you can come down here and just start adding your new player object, moving your object, player object, and you're going to have a move on the vector 3 line, which is just a position. You're going to have a move along the position of his y value, which is your up. And then you're going to times it and get the input of making it go up and down, which is vertical. And then you're going to times it by your player speed again, and you're timed out at the time. So I hope you enjoy these new tutorials. I hope you enjoy this tutorial series I look forward to doing. I want to get some feedback on you. This is my first one. I've never done this kind of stuff before. I apologize that if this video is a little choppy with me speaking or I'm incorrect sometimes. I didn't practice. I didn't, script out what I'm going to say. I basically just wanted to get this out there, see what you guys thought, and if you like it, you can send me requests to do other videos, and I'll make them as interactive as I possibly can. Thanks a lot.